So I guess I should probably make this clear before I start the video, and people who run in the comments yelling and screaming. This is called unpopular Yu-Gi-Oh videos for a reason. Remember what that word means. I'm going to be sharing opinions about the game that I have that are unpopular or controversial, but they're still just my opinions. All I ask is that you respect that. I mean, you know what you clicked on, so don't go, just like, oh, I hate this video, thumbs down, flame me and stuff. It's okay to disagree with me. It's okay to point that out. I want this to be a video where people can, share unpopular opinions they have in the game. But this isn't me like bashing or anything. It's just me letting them out. So in today's video, we're gonna be sharing, you guessed it, 10 unpopular Yu-Gi-Oh opinions that I have. They're just mine. Let me know what yours are at the end of the video. Let's hop in. Unpopular opinion number 1. People have way too much nostalgia bias when it comes to ban lists. I'm gonna be honest. Whenever ban list discussions come up, there's always somebody who's saying like a deck should get banned or so and so should come back. But there's certain cards, I feel like, when you ever just mention the idea of them coming back to 1 or something, people just like, it's hell and brimstone, For example, a card that I really would love to come off the ban list is Spellbook of Judgment. But it feels like whenever I mention that to people, there's always somebody who's just like, but Spellbook of Judgment's so broken, so many pluses. They just activate and they activate a bunch of spells and they plus and it's crazy. But it's like, okay, I get that, but power creep. We understand the game has gotten a lot faster, a lot crazier. The standard for what a good card is, what a good deck is, and like what a good combo and what consistency and all that stuff means is way different in 2016, 2017, will be even different in 2018 than it was back in like 2012 and before. So yes, Spellbook of Judgment, it's a strong, powerful card, but honestly and truly, it coming to 1 I don't think would be that bad. And I think that too many players aren't willing to explore the idea of a certain card coming back because they're just locked behind these goggles of like, well, it was so broken back in its time, or we just can't let that happen again. But the truth is, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh grows and some combos become really not feasible, not practical to do. A lot of this powerful broken stuff isn't as game breaking. I mean, we see that cards like YGOPro have been able to come off the ban list and been just fine. Cards like MST that was once limited is now at 3, and then we have like even better MSTs that exist. So I hate when people kind of let their scars from the past like stop them from looking at a ban list rationally. Unpopular opinion number 2. Most players bash other people's deck profiles literally because they are looking for affirmation and aren't confident about themselves. That literally is the only explanation I can think of. Because when you look at it, there's always, when I upload a deck profile or another channel does, you go to the comments and there's always people just, flaming it. Why, this build sucks. Why are you running this? Why aren't you running this? Why aren't you running these ratios? This is bad. I can't believe, how do you not understand this? And there's always, someone just saying that this is wrong and that's wrong and all this stuff. But the truth is, I think most players genuinely don't actually know what a good deck build is, and so what they want is just to sort of see somebody run it the same way that they are. So that way they feel, I guess high and mighty, or they feel justified or something. Because really when it comes down to it, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! You can build your deck however you want, and we've seen that deck builds that run crazy tech cards, deck builds that take a different sort of approach and philosophy and different ratios than normal are oftentimes the ones that get the most notoriety when they end up winning, because people are like, whoa, this won? Maybe we should reassess things. But until that happens, there's always going to be players who just bash someone else's deck profile and card choices because it doesn't match up with their own. But the truth is, they're not some godly player who knows exactly how to run X deck. They just want somebody to run what they're running so they can feel like they're right. Unpopular opinion number 3. People adopt habits literally because they think they look cool or they think that they make them better, and they aren't actually doing them for any tangible reason. So take, for example, the rapid hand shuffling that people do like this, where they just kind of do this with their cards and all that. And a lot of people do it. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but I think that a lot of people just do that because they saw some good player or some pro player do it in a video or something, and so they just kind of are trying to emulate it. Maybe it makes them feel better. I don't really know. The same thing goes for people who ask cards in hand. Now, if you're a pro player, there's a very rational reason to ask your opponent why they have X amount of cards in their hand or whatever. But honestly, I think that a lot of players I've seen just like to ask it to feel better about themselves and make themselves seem like they're just a better player than they are. Or, fanning out graveyards just not because they're using it to plan a play, but just because they think it makes them look cool. Again, this is unpopular opinions, so I could just very well be wrong, but I think that players just do this whole thing to look like they're better than they are. I don't know if it's like inferiority complex, but it's just kind of really annoying. Unpopular opinion number 4, GOAT format is kind of lame. I don't mean that like GOAT format's bad, but I think that there's this thing people have kind of gotten in their heads that GOAT format is just a more skilled format and playing it makes you a better player than people who don't. And that's where the problem comes in. I'm not saying that all GOAT format players are, obnoxious assholes. I'm just saying that there are those who exist, and I don't really see why GOAT format is like lauded as this, holy grail of Yu-Gi-Oh! I get it, it's strategic, it's fun, it's interesting, and it kind of has this popular sort of vocal minority fan base to it, but I hate when people get to this point where it's like kind of an us and them. If you don't play GOAT format, you must be a bad player. If you play regular Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're not good, you don't have any skill, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Takes no skill unless you're playing GOAT. No, that's not how it is. I think that's just strictly nostalgia goggles being like, just taking effect, where people think that the older ways are better, but that's not really how it goes. You can be a good Yu-Gi-Oh! Player who doesn't play GOAT format, and you can be a bad Yu-Gi-Oh! Player who does play GOAT format. I don't think that just on the basis of like liking it or playing it makes you a good player. I don't understand why so many people think that. Controversial opinion number 5. I feel like terms like helmet deck or solitaire deck are really just excuses. So honestly and truly, I think that people like to just find reasons why they lost that they can pin blame on instead of blaming themselves. I think that when people use those terms, oftentimes they either don't know exactly what it means and they're just copying somebody else, or they know what it means, but that doesn't change the fact that you lost to it. I kind of hate when people call a rogue deck gimmicky. I get the definition of a gimmick. I understand like what that means. At least I think I do, but it doesn't like invalidate a deck. Like just because you lost to what you call a helmet deck doesn't justify your loss anymore. Or just because a person plays what you think is a helmet deck doesn't mean that their win was any less deserved. And I get like what the terms mean, like I said, but it doesn't matter. Like calling it that doesn't make your problems go away. Learn the matchup, things like that. And by extension, even let's talk about, just alternate win condition decks in general. I think that they really aren't as bad as people say they are. Like people are, Chainburn's so broken and busted, it needs to be banned, mill decks and draw and like Exodia decks and all this stuff. Those decks never actually end up winning events really and truly. And those are just, you can side against these decks. Learn the matchups. If you lose to Chainburn, you probably deserve to lose to Chainburn because you don't understand the matchup. If you lose to some stall deck, if you lose to Exodia decks or mill decks, then you just don't understand how the cards work. Take the loss, learn from it. Don't just call it something because it makes you feel better. Next controversial opinion is gonna really get me flamed. I don't understand the appeal of heroes. For some reason, hero decks are like this thing that everybody always wants to be like, how can I build a hero deck this format, or hero decks are so much fun, or hero decks are so cool, or unbanned Stratos. I don't understand why people like heroes so much. I don't mean to say that like, I hate heroes, don't get me wrong. I just never have understood the like mass appeal of them. It's nothing particularly like any more different or special than any other deck, and they're fun, but like other decks are fun. I don't get like this sort of like fetishy thing with like Stratos and just like Shadow Mist and stuff. It's just another deck to me, and by extension I can even talk about Six Samurai. That's another deck that people like, and I just kind of don't like it. Maybe people like guys with swords, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Has like plenty of other things like that. So yeah, hate me all you want. It's an unpopular Yu-Gi-Oh! Opinions video. That's how it's gonna be. Next unpopular opinion. For all the shit we give them, Konami actually makes pretty good ban lists. Whoa, go figure. So I know it's a really popular thing to bash Konami. I've done my fair share of it. All I'm saying though is that when you look at the ban lists in the past, like when you kind of view it in hindsight, right? Konami's never really made awful ban lists. people have their opinions where it's like, oh, the ban list is just it's a money-making scheme, or they don't hit the cards when they're supposed to hit the cards. But has Konami ever like truly failed us with a ban list? Like, be honest with yourself. If you've played this game for any amount of time, you should know the process they take. Like, it's pretty consistent. Good deck comes out, sticks around for 6 to, maybe 12 months, and then it goes. Next one comes in, and then it goes. Next one comes in, and then it goes. That's just kind of how this has been. I mean, I don't think that Konami uses it strictly as like a pure greed thing. It's just to keep the game moving. And when things truly get out of hand, they tend to hit them. They hit Pepe, they hit the fusion substitute combo. They hit things that really do get out of hand. Sixth Sense, for example, and like, the self-destruct button stuff. Those types of FTKs and OTKs, chicken game, those have all gotten dealt with. I don't really see where Konami makes just awful ban lists that are so bad. And by extension, I don't think any player could do any better a job. Because let's face it, this community has entirely different definitions of what warrants a ban, what's broken. People are biased. They just don't like a deck because they lost to it, or they just want their favorite deck to come back. Players can never actually get together and make a decent ban list, and everyone thinks that they could make a perfect one. I promise you, it's harder than you think. Like, it really honestly is. Give Konami some more credit. They've never let this game truly just go to shit, and if they have, it's never lasted for very long. So, give them some credit. I really don't think Konami is out to screw anybody, and they actually do, a pretty decent job of making ban lists. Next controversial opinion, just because a deck is a meta deck does not mean it is lame. I made a video about this before, I think, but I think that people have this idea that just because a deck is the most popular competitive deck, or a lot of people are playing it in the tournament scene, means that it's lame and boring. That's simply not true. If you don't like Zodiacs, for example, that's fine. But there have been loads of really exciting meta decks in the past that a lot of people have liked. Mermails are a great one that come to mind. Honestly, Dragon Rulers are a lot of fun to play. And I mean, think about Shaddolls and Nekraz. These are the types of decks that a lot of people want things back. Free Shrit, free Construct, free Zen Mighty. Because what you realize is that top tier decks, maybe some of them can be a little bit slow or a little bit, annoying to face, or maybe they're a kind of anti-meta strategy, but some of them are really fun to play. And I don't think that people should bash so many others because they play them. Like, if you like to play what the top tier deck is because you truly enjoy it, fine, it's okay. Like, you don't have to tell someone that they're a sheep or that their deck is lame just because it's meta. It can be fun, it can be strategic, it can be fast-paced and exciting and have lots of combos. So I just don't like this idea that just because a deck is meta, it's lame. Because there are loads of lame, boring, low-tier decks. It's not just it's a competitively popular deck, and that's why it's stupid. It's you just don't like it, or you're salty or something. Next controversial opinion, old Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of boring, to be honest. People laud, the classic age of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where, I miss back when it was just summoning monsters, or just setting monsters and setting spells and traps and waiting. The way I see it, that's kind of boring, actually. I like what Yu-Gi-Oh's become. Not everything that's become. I'm not a big fan of Link monsters, for example, and there are some crazy top tier decks that feel unbalanced. But what I mean in general is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is way more interactive these days. I think that it actually takes more skill because there are more factors involved. Cards can do more, cards are more powerful, combos are longer, there are more things that can stop you. We now have things like hand traps. We now have, just cards that serve multiple purposes, several different engines that you can run in different decks, different outs to things that didn't exist before. For a long, long time, there was no thing like Effect Veiler. But now we have all sorts of hand traps. Now we have kaijus. Now we have, several different summoning mechanics. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a more multifaceted game than it ever has been. And people who really, truly want it to go back to the classic times, you really want to just go back to setting monsters and spells and traps? Now, I will say as the caveat, I don't like that, Yu-Gi-Oh! Can sometimes feel like make unbreakable board and win, or OTK your opponent and win. But what I do mean is that it's just a more interactive, deep game now than it ever has been. And the last controversial opinion, Konami really whores out dual monsters. I'm sorry, but I'm so sick of Yugi and Kaiba junk getting released every single year, like for the past 2 years. They've been the theme of the Megatens for 2 years straight. We've gotten their reloaded decks. We got, the Dark Magician support. We got the Blue Eye support. And then they just kind of keep making like Duelist Pack Battle City, Duelist Pack Rouse of the Pharaoh. This winter we get like the Yugi collection thing and the Kaiba collection thing. They don't even have new cards. They're just like those old structures and then some more Duelist packs. And it's just like, can we get any love for any other character? There are more characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than just Yugi and Kaiba. Like, even if you want to only use dual monsters, we don't get that much showing from like Joey or Pegasus or Bandit Keith. I don't know. And it seems like GX just apparently didn't ever exist. You don't even see playmats with like Jaden or Chaz on them. The last couple of like Comic-Con playmats have just been Yugi and Kaiba. They even reuse the same artwork half the time. Like, can we not have like a cool, mat with like Alexis Rhodes, or she's just not a character anymore? Can we have a mat with like Jack Atlas? They sometimes maybe get one, but Yugi and Kaiba, the same artworks, the same images, the same cards. How many more printings of Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon do we honestly need to sell products? I know it appeals to the nostalgia fan base and maybe those products sell better, but I mean, like, legendary decks and all this stuff, like, can it just stop already? There are more characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than Yugi and Kaiba. And that concludes my 10 unpopular Yu-Gi-Oh! Opinions. So, if you made it this far in the video, congratulations. If you haven't, thumbs it down and just written your hate comment, I have a lot of respect for you. This wasn't meant to be one of those like happy-go-lucky videos, but it also wasn't meant to be like a rant or a bashing. It's just kind of me sharing things that I feel kind of go against the grain. Everybody's got these. You have an unpopular Yu-Gi-Oh! Opinion that not many people agree with. Share it. Like, what things do you not like about Yu-Gi-Oh! What beliefs do you have that you feel people are missing? I'm not saying mine are right because they're just opinions, but that's what they are. That's why I'm sharing them. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification button so you can see all of our other new videos as soon as they come out. It's gonna be it. I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.